questions. Those questions were given to the candidates on Friday so they could have a little time to research. There's also a map on your desk that, I keep saying desk, your table. The map is the Lawrenceville Highway Corridor Study. There's also, you can see the Tucker
given to the candidates
front page there. It has all what those mean, and we'll talk about those as well. But if I can have all the candidates come up front and take a seat, and we'll get ready to get started.
Highway Corridor Study. There's also, you can see the Tucker given to the candidates
front page there. It has all what those mean, and we'll talk about those as well. But if I can have all the candidates come up front and take a seat, and we'll get ready to get started. Also on your way out, Deb had brought all of the voting information. It's back on that little desk down there on your way out. So if you want to know when early voting starts and mail-in votings and when your voting times are, you can look at that as well.
And we'll get ready to get started.
Also on your way out, Deb had brought all of the voting information. It's back on that little desk down there on your way out. So if you want to know when early voting starts and mail-in votings and when your voting times are, you can look at that as well.
And we'll get ready to get started. Also on your way out, Deb had brought all of the voting information. It's back on that little desk down there.
Okay. First, I'd like to thank our candidates tonight for offering their name in the hat. I think that's super important. To be engaged in our community and to be able to want to serve you. So to your left, you have Patrice Cosby. In the middle, you have Vihn Nguyen.
Okay. First, I'd like to thank our candidates tonight for offering their name.
Derik West. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the first question.
And to be able to want to serve you.
First question, a special land use application has been submitted to the city for a 7-acre lot in your district. The applicant wants to add 24 units per acre that abuts our 75 residential units and has promised a percentage of workforce housing. The developer has hosted a community meeting but did not provide any additional feedback other than the attendees were not favorable to the application and were just resisting change as usual. The application is now with the Planning Commission and staff is recommending approval with conditions.
But did not provide
The questions are, A, start with that, what are your next steps? Whom or what or whom will you consult? And C is, how do you think you will vote on this special application? So I'm going to start with Derik West first, and then each question I will start with a different candidate.
Well, thank you for that. Well, the next steps as far as would be to review as far as all the recommendations and conditions, that have been
So
proposed.
I'm going to start.
So you want to also ensure that it's important to get feedback from the community. Make sure that all those concerns that are raised by those that are in attendance understand that. Who would I consult? Well, it would be helpful to consult with all of the stakeholders that involved, such as the Planning Commission, the city staff, to understand their reasoning for recommendations for approval with those conditions. And also, it would be important to consult with the developer to understand the perspective and address the concerns that the developer may have. That's very important as well. So to answer the question as far as about, or to address the question about how do you think you would vote, well, without additional information, it would be difficult to determine how I would vote, and to say that at this particular setting, I would vehemently say I would wait to have attendees come to those planning commission meetings, get involved to see exactly if they want to know what the vote is or how I would vote, then they show up to those meetings and understand the process of how those votes come into play.
Thank you. Nguyen, same question.
Sure. Yeah, thank you guys for all coming up. So my next steps would be to request who did they contact, what were they asked, how far did they reach out? We had a issue at the zoning meeting a few months ago for the Lawrenceville corridor, where there were neighbors that were about 50 feet outside of the contact area. They were pretty upset. So, you want to make sure that everyone around the area, not just a artificial limit that's set by some law, is contacted. We need to do a little bit better job about communication and getting the word out about a lot of these changes. A R75 is a medium residential lot, so I think when you're in a situation like that, you're looking at a neighborhood, and one of the biggest things for us is that our neighborhoods is kind of our key treasures for Tucker, right? Everyone wants to preserve and hold on to our little small town feel. You know, I would also like to communicate with the developers and request their designs doesn't meet the aesthetics of that neighborhood, doesn't meet the setbacks requirements that we need from them, doesn't meet all the EPA and environmental protections. Are they gonna destroy, you know, a bunch of trees that we love? You know, after that, I would consult with the Planning Commission and the city staff. You know, they're there for a reason. We should use their expertise. They know a lot more about the intricate details and finer details of these special land use permits. You know, I think if all the data and all the information were gathered, I would lean towards yes, if, you know, we could get in writing and promise by the developers that they would meet all of our requirements and all of the conditions, you know, whether it looks nice, if it works with the flow of traffic, you know, because we really want to keep these relationships with the good developers, right? We don't want to let anyone come in and build whatever they want within our town. We want to keep the good ones around. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone.
Patrice, do you want me to reread the question for you?
No, you're fine.
Well, that's all right. Please go ahead.
Okay. So my first thing I would have to do would be to definitely understand what the developer is trying to, what's their main goal, right? Because from my understanding and reading this, they want to buy 7 acres and they want to buy it not all in one area. It looks like it's like this and this and they're gonna piece it together. So my next steps would be to definitely reach out to the community first, find out what their concerns are and how we can integrate, if it is an appropriate development, then how we can integrate their concerns with what it is that the developer is trying to do. I would also like to put in some kind of impact fee or something that would help address anything that may come up in the future while these buildings are being built, if they are permitted to build. I would definitely have to consult with the planning committee. I would have to consult with the constituents. I would also have to consult with staff, because at this point, I only know, you know, the general gist of what's going on. And based on what I know now, and since the community that's been here stated that that's not something that they necessarily want, if it was, hey, you had to vote, I probably wouldn't agree to it, because I just wouldn't know enough about it to say, hey, I understand these are your concerns, but if we implement this and this and this. So if I had to make a quick and swift decision on it, it will probably be to let's hold off until we get, you know, more information.
Thank you for your answers on that one. You can hand the mic to Wynn. Question number 2. What is your opinion on the zoning changes proposed for Lawrenceville Highway corridor by zone with the proposed map? Everyone on your table is the proposed map, and with that are the zoning areas, just so you can follow along. Question, and we'll go through these. Do you have the list? So the first one is, what do you see as the largest benefit? What do you see as the largest hurdle? What would you need any additional information to finalize your vote, and if so, what?
Yeah. So, you know, I attended just about every single one of the meetings for the Lawrenceville corridor. Selfishly, I live on Lawrenceville, so it was a key issue for my neighborhood. I think, you know, overall, they did a fantastic job, right? They took the contractor, they went out, they contacted the majority of the community. There were numerous meetings, you know, and there was numerous revisions based on the feedbacks of the community. The rezoning of Lawrenceville I think is one of the biggest parts that will push change in our community, right? It's a huge point of economic interest for us. Right now, you know, the rest of the city is kind of moving on. If you look at all these surrounding neighborhoods and cities like Doraville, Lilburn, they're all prospering because their zoning works well with developers. You know, a lot of the feedback that we get is that not everyone wants a bunch of tire shops and car shops on Lawrenceville. You know, while I agree to that sentiment a little bit, we do need to hold on to those, right? Everyone needs those services, but the biggest benefit of this is to bring in a lot of money to our city by bringing in more diverse businesses. This is also a point that we can take for addressing our affordable housing. We have a lot of elder and young people that are looking for places to live. Lawrenceville Highway, fortunately, does allow us to take in a lot of traffic that we can integrate with. So it's a key spot for us to build additional housing for everyone to kind of transition into without burdening our surrounding neighborhoods. I think the largest hurdle that we're facing with that rezoning is the zoning restrictions. You know, it started off as 34 dwelling units per square acre, which, you know, you can get cottage homes, townhomes in that area. And it was reduced down to 24 dwelling units per acre. And in one of the meetings, Ann Lerner and the mayor both called out pretty correctly that the downtown was also zoned for that dwelling unit size. And in the 7 years that it has been zoned, that there hasn't been any development downtown, right? So that kind of points you to that it's not economically feasible for these developers to work in a restriction like that. So they're going to go through a lot more of the government red tape and hurdles that drives up construction costs. Was that all the answer to the question? Sorry.
What, would you need any additional information to finalize your vote? If so, what?
No, I think I'm pretty good on the vote. I would still vote yes, but continue to push for additional changes to the zoning. I think that's something that always has to be constantly evolved. Yeah.
Thank you. You can hand it to Derik.
Well, my opinion about that is that I think that it's going to be one where it's going to look very nice. I really appreciate all the efforts and the hard work that went into getting that done. However, the largest benefit of that proposed zoning changes for that corridor would be the increased economic development and growth in that area. That's something that, you know, when you're becoming a newer city or a toddler city, those are the things are some of the biggest challenges and that one would have to face, which is the largest hurdle is making sure that those proposed changes align with the community's vision for that impacted area. And that they do not negatively impact the quality of life for the residents in that area. So that's typically the biggest hurdles and those things that one would face. Additional information would be needed or may be needed to finalize a vote, such as feedback from the community. That's always very, very important and very vital as far as all the other stakeholders, as well as an analysis of the potential impact of that proposed changes in that area.
Thank you. Patrice?
So when it comes to that, those zoning changes, I think that as long as we as a community and as a city use it wisely, right? So in other words, for me, I wouldn't necessarily agree to bringing so many big boxes inside those areas for economic development. I think that there could be satellite versions of these big boxes. For instance, let's say instead of putting a big Amazon there, you use, you know, businesses that have Amazon boxes like Whole Foods or something like that, that you can it's a satellite version of it, but you're still getting big dollars, or you're still getting that economic growth from them using that satellite version of it. As long as, for me, as long as the biggest hurdle is to make sure that the citizens and economic and what they want to see as economic development growth, let that align with what, you know, what the citizens as a whole want. Make sure that we are listening to our community and our constituents, so that there's a balance between, you know, growth and what everybody knows Tucker to be. You want to kind of make sure that you're doing that wisely, and you're not, you know, overstepping or adding too much too fast to the city, you know, as it is. And of course, I would definitely need more information on this, just so I can make sure that the decision that I make is beneficial for not just, you know, not just one particular group. Maybe make sure it's collectively accepted amongst all the citizens.
Thank you. You can keep the mic. We're going to start with you on this next question. Question number 3. A constituent has reached out to you for assistance as they have received a warning from code enforcement for parking an enclosed trailer, 6x12 trailer, in their driveway. They also disclosed that their property has no access to the backyard and a 6-foot side yard. After researching the city's website and reviewing the code, how should you respond to this individual?
Firstly, I would let them know that I understand that these situations and things like this can be a little frustrating. That would be my first comforting statement to the constituents. I would also do the research, in which I did, and according to the ordinance, you need at least 10 feet. So that's why it was, and they only have 6. So I have reached out, and I did, because I wasn't sure on quite how this would be handled. And there are certain things that the constituents can do to offset some of that, to offset the parking. You can get a permit to have gravel added so that you can add some more space. You can also find alternative parking in your area for your trailer, and so those are the things that I when I posed the question, because I wasn't sure on quite how to find that ordinance. But once I found it, that's the recommendation that I would give them as a councilwoman.
Thank you. Wynn?
Yeah. So I think the first thing I would do is kind of reach out to both parties, try to form a line of communication between everyone, right? We don't want to play a game of telephone and get things wrong. I would sit down with the owner of that recreational vehicle, explain the ordinance, what it all means. I think if anyone has gone on the website or tried to decipher our ordinance, you know, you're going to have a fun time, right? You're jumping around about 6 different pages. You have to really understand legalese, and I don't know about you guys, I'm not a lawyer by trade. So I would, you know, kind of communicate with them what the ordinance means, what can we do to get them into compliance. But, you know, let's say that we can't address it through adding gravel or anything like that. I would also reach out and try to find alternative means for them to find storage, right? By providing locations or any other answers like that. I would like to work with the complainant and the constituent if we can find a timeline. You know, something like RV storage. I used to have one. It costs a lot. Not everyone has that financial means, so maybe we could work something out between the two parties and get it addressed.
Thank you. Derik?
Thank you. Well, if a citation has already been issued, then certainly I would empathize with them to say, hey, you know, let's see if we can find, you know, a common resolution. However, after researching it again, you're not allowed to have that by, you know, Section 46-14 63 because I did crawl through all of those various pages to find it. And what happens is that those types of things have to, we have to be that extended arm to try to get individuals to comply. Because again, if you're not supposed to have it, you're not supposed to have it. Everybody has to abide by the rules. However, if that's the case, then the constituent may be able to apply for a variance, or appeal the warning that they received. Those types of things are always, it should be in their toolbox, from code enforcement when they have a citation from code enforcement like that. So you want to make sure that you advise, that I would advise that constituent to review the city code to understand it, and if they have questions regarding that, and if they can't come to a common agreement, then certainly I would advise them to, speak with the leadership, and if that doesn't work, seek legal professional guidance on how to proceed going forward.
Thank you. When you get the next question, please.
Sure.
Question number 4. A community member reaches out to you about a property that has overgrown bushes and flaking exterior paint. This community member is a frequent reporter of code issues. What actions do you take?
Yeah. So, tonight I talked to 2 people right before this all started, and I think it's a sentiment that I've heard over and over in the community, that they feel code enforcement is used to target certain individuals, to bully people to do what they want, right? I think this is a chance for us to kind of take a look at our processes, what laws there are, and again, really try to have each other empathize on our situations, right? We want to look at all the details of the complaint. Let's say because their bushes are overgrown and their exterior paint is flaking. I ran into one community member this week. She was too old to take care of her yard, right? That's a situation that we're going to be facing a lot more in the future as our town ages. We want to take a look, is the complainant, are they making valid complaints to the city each time? We want to take a look at the record. Are they just flagrantly filing over and over and over to push their standards upon to people? If it is a situation where it's a lack of funds, lack of means, I think that's something that we as a city should work together on, maybe through a nonprofit or some kind of volunteering to address the issue.
Patrice?
The first thing I would do is thank the constituent for, giving me the heads up and make sure that I get the address from the person again, because you don't know if there is a need or something that you may, as a city council person, can run into or help or resource or what have you. So I would take that information because you just never know the situation. The next thing I would do is inform that constituent on how they can go to the City of Tucker website. You can go to court enforcement. You can file your own request. You can file a complaint. You can do all of that online so that the information is documented in the Tucker's database, so that if it's something that's habitual, right, then we as a city would know, hey, this person has had 17 violations for the same thing, or what have you, so that we can maybe reach out and see if there is a need. That way, once you redirect, then that at least allows you an opportunity to not continuously get bombarded, I guess, for lack of a better word, with that same person coming over and over and over and over again. So I would definitely educate that person on how they can themselves make that complaint. And if it's someone older, then me personally, I probably would just do it for them in the system, just because, hey, I do it all the time. So, but, if in the case that I can't, I would, do my best to try to help that person find their own way of, getting that complaint out without necessarily reaching out directly every time to a city council member.
Thank you. Derik?
Well, what happens when if there's the appropriate action would be to investigate properly, to make sure that to determine if the overgrown bushes or, the flaking exterior of the paint violates any city codes. And if they do, then the city should issue as far as a violation to the property owner and provide a reasonable amount of time in order for that to take place. So those things that you want to give them an opportunity to correct those issues, and if the property owner fails to comply with that, then the city may need to take any legal action to enforce that code.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to leave the mic with you. The next question is, now that you've campaigned and talked with the community, what do you think they want from their next council member? Name the first, second, and third thing.
First thing would be transparency and accountability. Certainly the things that I stand on in any of the decision-making processes. The responsiveness to the community's concerns and the needs. Constituents feel that if I say something, I'm not being heard. Individuals who are in elected positions should respond. And when they don't, constituents know that. And they take it personally because their concerns are personal to them. Elected officials should do that. And when elected officials don't do that, shame on them for doing that. And also focusing on economic development and smart growth, making sure that those types of things remain very unique to Tucker because, again, we love our city. We want to make sure that our city maintains that unique character that it has, but also you can't not have that type of economic growth, the economic development and growth without some people kind of being upset about it. But again, it's called growing pains. They happen.
Thank you. Wynn?
Yeah. I think along the same sentiment, right? I hear it over and over and over that people want transparency from their government. Right now, the majority of our constituents, they think that the government is just kind of a faceless entity. They send an email or complaint or an issue in, and they don't hear anything back. They don't know why these changes are happening. I'm not trying to fault a lot of this to the council or the city. It's just not everyone can make it out to every single meeting, watch every single Zoom. The meetings and the Zoom calls are like 2.5 to 3 hours long. That's a lot of time to ask from any kind of normal person to take out of their day to be able to follow along all this. I think the second thing is better communication. We leverage a lot of the traditional methods of like email, Facebook posts, and community meetings. Again, not everyone has the luxury, to show up at a 6:30 p.m. meeting. There's people that have kids. There's people that are taking care of their families, their mothers, their fathers. So I think we should do a little bit better job at expanding our communication to everyone if possible. The third thing is they want someone who is proactive in pushing a lot of these new ideas and changes, right? We're not just doing the same thing over and over and hoping for different results. Yeah.
Thank you. Patrice?
So my first thing is, again, transparency and accountability. That is like the number one thing that our constituents that I know I talk to, and it seems like we all have talked to, similar-minded people on, they really just want to make sure that the city is making decisions and holding the city accountable for the decisions that they're making. They don't want to be told what to do. They kind of want to be involved in the process. And like he said, our schedules sometimes don't necessarily coherently agree with sometimes the council meetings or planning boards or what have you. The next thing I would do would be, my next one is representation. I stand on it, I believe in it. It's my first thing in my platform, community first, because I love the community that I lived in. I chose to move to Tucker from downtown Atlanta. It was a very concise and decisive decision. So representation is definitely what I lean on. I want to make sure that the citizens are being heard and it's just not dictatorship. Not saying that that's what it is now, but I'm just saying in a whole, you know, being represented for everybody, not just one person or people. And the last one is fiscal responsibility, making sure that the budget is clear and concise. I looked at the budget, it was hard for me to read and understand. And so just making sure that we are responsible with economic growth, we're responsible with affordable housing, we're responsible with citizens and our older citizens and taxes and stuff like that. I want to make sure that we are doing right by all the people that kept Tucker, made Tucker, and want to stay in the city of Tucker.
Thank you. Will you send that to Derik, please? The next question is for you, Derik. What changes will you drive for in this 4-year term?
Well, the changes that I'll drive stem back to the ones that I talked about before, the very same ones, being transparent, listening to the concerns of the constituents, having be their voice for those individuals who are voiceless. You know, as the other candidates have addressed earlier, not everybody has the luxury to do that. However, those individuals who want to know what's going on within the city, if they have the proper communication avenues in order to reach their council members and the council member responds to them, then it helps ease that burden of them trying to fight the battle that we've been elected to fight. Individuals who understand if the city's budget, the city's finances aren't as clear, but the individuals who've been elected to help understand that, that's our job to do it once we are elected. That's our job to understand that. We have a responsibility to the constituents to let them know, here's what that line item means on a general fund budget. Everybody does not understand accounting that way, nor should they, because they're in different professions. However, if they put us in office, then certainly that's our responsibility, and we should do that and take that into consideration. Again, economic vitality of those cities' resources is a platform that I stand on, and we want to make sure that the city is utilizing those funds and dictating them appropriately, so that way we're able to tell the constituents, here's why this is happening in this area of town. This is why these dollars have been allocated for sidewalks, for whatever that particular project is, so that they have an understanding of what their tax dollars, and they can see it being done when they drive on newly paved roads, but they understand the process of how they got those newly paved roads.
Thank you. Will you hand it to Patrice? We'll have you go fast on this one. Do you need me to repeat the question?
It's the what changes?
What changes will you drive for this 4-year term?
All right, so the changes I would drive for, the first one is civic engagement, and I know I say it over and over, but promoting civic engagement and transparency actually houses holding small town hall meetings like this, right? Also, in different times, more convenient for, you know, a host of citizens, and making sure that that I'm encouraging input on key issues, making sure that the government process, the residents understand the process and what it is we have to go through in order to even get here, right? The second one would be affordable housing, to address the issues, because I know that people are getting pushed out of their homes because taxes are going up, values are going up, they're building bigger and better homes, and you know, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. I'm not opposed to that at all if that's your flavor, but it's also driving our senior citizens out. That's on fixed income. Taxes alone have almost doubled. So, I mean, just from the time I've been here. So, you know, making sure that we you know, hone in on affordable housing, infrastructure and development, right? In order for us to grow, we need to make sure that infrastructure and development are done in the right way, done properly. And last but not least, economic development. I definitely believe in innovative ways of incorporating the old and the new. I believe that there's a way that the young and the old can exist at the same time in the same space, and enjoying themselves to the fullest, right? Because that is how you create neighborhood, that's how you create community, that's how you create people sustainability. Did I say that right? Yeah, I think so. So those are the 4 things that I would definitely strive to do my first 4 years, and I promise I'm going to strive hard.
Thank you so much. Wynn?
Yeah, it's a long laundry list of things to do for our city. We're brand new. We're about 6, 7 years in now. One of my main thing is to drive better communication between the city and the constituents. That's something that we've heard over and over and over tonight, just about from everyone in this room. Our current methods are antiquated. It's very traditional stuff. I think town halls and meetings and all this is really nice to get face to face, but there should be other ways that are like asynchronous, right? So maybe we have someone that's working night shift as a nurse. They can't make it to any of these meetings. Well, we need some way of them providing that input back to the community and letting the rest of the community give it a feedback on the issues that they're bringing up. I would like to provide more tracking and transparency and accountability to all of the city operations. Stuff like code enforcement. We don't want to have code enforcement seem like it's a tool that's used to discriminate against someone. If there's a infraction that's submitted, we want to know like what the infraction is, what do they think the infraction is. If it's like an overgrown bush, how far is it over? We want to know what code enforcement is doing to address it if you are the complainant, right? Like this is where it is in the process. Something like road resurfacing. Duluth does a really great job on this. On their city website, you can go pull up the map, you look at the road, it tells you where the project is, where's the funding coming from, every single step of the way, and you can track that, and it's easily digestible by anyone. I would like to fight for more funding for our Parks and Rec. I think that's something that has been a really great resource and has grown a lot. But not everyone is out there playing pickleball. Not everyone's out there playing kickball in the evening. So I think we can expand the funding, provide arts and crafts. Maybe we do pottery classes, and then we can also expand it to educational classes. I currently work in tech, and I know how fast the world is moving, and it's only going to accelerate. So I think we should prepare our young and elderly for the world ahead. It's a real scary world out there. We don't want our elderly being targets to fraud and not knowing how to defend themselves against stuff like that. I would like to work a lot more with the surrounding cities. We all should strive to learn and collaborate with each other. We should learn what did they do to be successful, what issues did they run along the way, and what mistakes did they make, so we can bypass those mistakes and save ourselves the headache and money. I would also like to streamline a lot of the processes. In construction, one of the major costs is governmental red tape and restrictions, right? As a city, we should do a really good job. If there's a developer coming in, we know what process they need, what inspection, when they need to do it, what they need to follow. So I think we can provide a person to walk them through all this, right? When you're a person coming into the city trying to add a additional dwelling unit to your backyard, good luck trying to navigate the ordinance on what pipe, what sewage you need to tap into, what power lines you need to do. So those are my main initiatives.
Thank you so much. You can actually we'll start with you on this one. Who or what person or historical figure inspires you the most and why?
Yeah, I'll hold back the tears on this one. It sounds cheesy, but my parents, we came in, as refugees to America. We landed in Clarkston. My family has gone through a lot of hardships to get over here. I'm real proud of them. My parents were POWs. My dad was a Air Force pilot, and he really drove me to go down the career path of and join the service as a Marine. So I've always kind of tried to emulate the examples that they set.
Thank you, Derik.
Thank you. Well, how do I follow that?
Good luck.
Well, the person that inspires me the most is my mother. She instilled in me the values of life. She has counseled me on this journey through this road that I call life, and she does that to this very day. Other than my mother, the person from a historical standpoint is Mr. Fred Rogers from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. That is an awesome, awesome human being. Whenever bad things happen, if you're having a bad day, you can always watch an episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and I can guarantee you will feel better. That issue you're dealing with may still be there, but you'll feel better about it. So I get the question sometimes, if there was ever a person who you would like to have dinner with, that would be an individual that I definitely would like to sit down, because he's just an overall awesome guy. You know?
Thank you so much. Patrice?
Now, I'm over here singing, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day. Okay. Sorry, I digress. Okay. So, for me, I have many people that inspire me, but two women that inspire me, like, beyond myself would be my lovely wife, Vihn Cosby, and my mom, Diane Lewis. And these two women have literally, like, seeing me beyond me seeing me, right? I would have never on my own efforts done this, right? And I got inspired, and those are the first two people that I said, do you think, is it possible? Me? And they were like, oh, what? Of course, you are this and you are that. And after I got inspired from, I'll save that for later, the person who actually helped me do this, they have been so just steadfast in my life, right? They have shown me that I can, even when I thought I could not. From getting 3 undergrad degrees, a master's, and working on a PhD, right? They have literally told me I can, even when I'm like, I cannot, you know? And they themselves they didn't tell me you can out of their mouths. They showed me I can because of what they do. My mom owns one of the biggest food pantries in West Palm Beach, Florida. She has from United Way all the way down to gas stations that during the pandemic, the line was around the corner. She has a small church, and they have a small fellowship hall, and they turned that into one of the biggest food pantries, and she did it, you know, without a lot of people. She owned a nonprofit for 27 years, helping at-risk kids. I watched her do what they said she couldn't. She serves city council, she serves on boards, and she just showed me what a woman from King Street, South Carolina, that had a father that owned pigs and was the hog man, she could come from that and be this extraordinary woman of just virtue. And my wife, God, I can't even, every day she gets up and every day she does extraordinary work for her community, a community that she actually does not live in, but she makes sure that that community knows who they are, where they come from, and what she does. She works for a national heritage area, preserving Greenland, and Greenland that was that a lot of enslaved people lived on, and she goes around and helps preserve the story of African Americans and people in the Greenland in national heritage areas that, you know, didn't get the recognition that they should have gotten, and she helps preserve those stories and preserves a lot of Greenland in the good old state of Georgia. So, yeah, those two women help me, and they inspire me daily, every day, and I'm very grateful for them.
Thank you. Derik, this next question, we're going to start with you. Tucker is not a full-service city. They rely on intergovernmental agreements in order to secure services via DeKalb County. At any time, the Standing Council has the opportunity and power by referendum to remove those services from the county. In your opinion, which service should Tucker take next and why?
Well, the services, that Tucker should take would depend on specific needs and priorities of the community. Our city needs change over time. We would have to take into consideration there is a public process for that to take place, and over any future services of what the city may or may not need depends on the needs of the city at the time. If Tucker takes on services such as public safety or sanitation, then we have the same issues as the other surrounding municipalities as it turns to the staffing of those departments, the finances of those departments. Who's going to pay for that? That means an increase probably in taxes and things of that nature. All those things that our peer cities and surrounding cities are dealing with, again, as I stated, such as staffing. Because taking over services from the county is not a magic pill or a cure-all. What happens in those aspects to deliver those services. So they must be evaluated on a case-by-case basis and also in a real-time basis for that.
Thank you. Wynn, you can take the next one.
I think we should take over the community development part of DeKalb County. This department, they focus a lot on affordable housing and using federal funds to address a lot of these issues. Housing is one of those issues that takes forever to address, right? You have so much lead time to build a house. You have to go through the special land use permit process. You have to apply for different zonings and meet different requirements. The community development department could apply for federal grants to help us transition into a city that could, provide workforce housing. We have someone that's there dedicated to guaranteeing when they work with developers additional units at certain prices. Some that are locked to police force, firemen. The lack of inventory for us is a major issue. If you attended one of the recent city council meetings, the housing study showed that a lot of our elderly are looking to move to single floor elderly care facilities. We don't have places for that. I think community development group would be able to address this in the long term, right? And then we can also use a lot of these grants and funds to address some of our unhoused and homeless population. If you drive around town, we're nothing like Portland or Seattle, but there are a lot of people that do need help. And having someone that's specialized and dedicated to it can walk them through the process of getting possibly mental help and housing to get them shelter where they're away from the elements.
Thank you. Patrice?
For me, doing my research on the different services that we possibly could take over, that we could actually manage and we could maybe save money depending on, how we negotiate contracts and things like that. Actually, trash collection and recycling, that might be one of the easiest services that we could actually take over because Tucker is a smaller place. So we could actually cut out the middleman, which is DeKalb County, because even though they pick up our trash, we're still paying them a fee to pick up the trash. We're still paying them a fee for their workers. We're still paying them a fee for all of that. By taking just trash collection and recycling, we can make it cost efficient. We can actually have local workers that will live in the city of Tucker. We can actually tailor the situations. We can actually have more control over junk boat pickup. We can have it's more flexibility within us controlling that element of services. And so for me, I really think that we should maybe do a study on taking over trash collection, because we're gonna dump it at the same place. We're gonna do the same thing DeKalb did. We're just gonna take that middleman out and maybe take that little fee that we have and maybe put it back into the city of Tucker, which brings in, again, more money for the city and for us to do more things.
Thank you. You want the next one?
I don't know. I don't know how, is it my, I have no idea.
Lost track.
Pick one.
All right, I'm picking one. We're going to go with Win in the middle there.
All right.
Win, how do you intend to communicate with your constituency?
Yeah, I think this is something I kind of hit on earlier. I would continue to use a lot of the same methods that we currently do, right? Phone calls, text messages, chat, social media, district meetings, door-to-door, email. Those are all fine, but I think we have to step our game up to listen to all the voices in the community, not just the ones that are the loudest, not just the ones that are showing up to the meetings. Everyone wishes they can. Everyone in Tucker that I know care deeply about Tucker, so they want to contribute in some kind of way. I work in tech right now, so it's one of my specialties is communications and issue tracking. I would like to have a continuous survey, anytime we have an issue, and really get the true feedback of the community, not, just the two people that showed up and continuously yelled, no, they don't want change, and no, they don't want their road repaved or a sidewalk here in front of their house. If it benefits the greater good, I think we should kind of lean a little bit more into it, and we have to listen to our constituents. Another one is I would like to build a issue tracking board where our citizens, the whole city, can submit their issues. Currently right now when you submit an issue, it does get worked through the code enforcement or public works department, but there are neighbors that also have their exact same issues. They want to know where that issue is at. If it's like a down power line, this is, let's say you have the down power line, that their car is coming out, when they're coming out, what they're doing to address it. And then if it's a issue that is reoccurring, someone can just quickly look into it, right? We don't need to waste a lot of time providing the exact same answers over and over. I think this will be a good benefit and really cut costs.
Thank you. Derek?
Well, information is generally available, but not always in a format that's easily, usable for each individual. You can quickly and effortlessly disseminate by using social media platforms, email newsletters, newsletters from elected officials, but those newsletters can be detailed to specific issues that are, concerning or important to a specific audience. Those community meetings and events, when different types of things and events are happening in the community, let the people know. Let your neighbors know. Hey, I saw this on the website. Are you going to go? One-on-one meetings with the constituents. People like people, and people like talking about those things to each other when they are affecting everybody that's in that community. But the information is out there. We just have to educate the individuals on how to obtain it, make it easily accessible for those individuals, and at the very, very least, attend the city council meetings and the public hearings, because the information is where it is at those city council meetings and those public hearings.
Thank you. Patrice?
So for me, and this is just what I can personally plan or try to plan to do, I would like to have more individual town hall meetings like this, because again, everybody can't make the big meetings or the planning meetings, so maybe you can do, have a general individual like district meetings throughout the month or once a month alter to what the other meetings are so that you can explain what's going on and how it is and blah, 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 and get those questions that they may not necessarily be able to meet and take them to your working sessions and try to work through them versus, trying to just have a small or one-time meeting at the city hall. I'm a techie, so I would definitely, I've already got a good idea for maybe having a little app for Tucker. A lot of cities have it where you can do everything via right there on your phone. You can keep track of your complaints. You can keep track of what's going on. That's an easier way to get text messages out. Most cities have mass text, and so they can send you out a text message that say, hey, don't forget the city council, and for our older people that don't necessarily use the internet or necessarily have Facebook, I know plenty that do, but just in case you don't, I think that we should tailor some of our things to written stuff for senior citizens. Thank you, senior citizens. Thank you. Because most of them check their mail. So even if you put a flyer to, even if you just go through and say, okay, this age bracket, we're going to send out a letter because they may not necessarily be on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Black Planet. I don't know all those other ones out there. So that's a way to directly inform them, right? And again, I have a great person that is going out and currently in her own election, but she actually responds to most of her constituents' emails personally. I'm that person. I plan on doing that. So, and responding personally, and of course, emailing out newsletters as well. And just making sure all documents and everything is transparent enough for people to understand and user-friendly. And I'll always throw in fun facts, like I like tacos and pizzas, so hey,
That's awesome. You can hold on to the mic there. We'll ask the next one. Question number 10. What do you see as the most important aspect of the Tucker Tomorrow Comprehensive Plan?
For me, and I will say this a million times, I absolutely like the paths and pathways. I like the pedestrian bridge. I think that is very important to our society nowadays. I think that connects communities, that connects people of all diversities. That is a way to bring everyone together because it belongs to us as a whole. So for me, the pedestrian walks, the pedestrian bridges, the sidewalks, and the path trails that they are working on and they are working towards, that is going to be a very key element and key part here in the city of Tucker, because we want to make sure people are living healthy lives. We want to make sure people are getting fresh air. We want to make sure people are patronizing the businesses along those walks and those pathways. We want to make sure that we can come together in an open environment and just be safe, get wellness, and we'll introduce ourselves and we'll help each other and we'll know each other and we'll start recognizing each other, and not by just town hall meetings, but recognizing each other because, hey, I saw you at Walmart, now you on the wall, hey, that can happen. So I just feel like that is a very important part, and it also takes that carbon footprint out, because I know and I believe that we need to make sure that we are protecting our environment for our future generations. And I know that during the pandemic, and I know nobody wants to hear that, but if you look at the carbon footprint that went down. It was the change was humongous. That gave us a little more time. That gives us a little more time, and it is very important that we definitely work on carving our footprint carbonly in the world. So,
thank you, Vihn.
Yeah, I'll try not to reiterate a lot of the great facts that she laid out. Again, I think the path is one of the best things, and it's the biggest project for Tucker, right? We're dedicating so much of our SPOS money and annual budget to it that we should just leverage it more than a exercise pathway. It's a way for us to build more businesses along there that are going to be frequented by people. So it's a huge economic driver and development for us. Along the path right now, the zoning, especially the Lawrenceville corridor, there's only certain parcels that are actually usable for storefronts. There are parcels that are hard to get to or are just zoned straight for industrial. I think one of the last things I want to do when I go on a nice leisurely nature walk is see construction and lumber going on right next to it, right? I think the path also helps us with a lot of our transportation issue. There's a decent amount of us that live and work within Tucker. This will help us address a lot of the traffic jam issues that we see during rush hour. Spending $32 million on a trail or whatever the final number comes out to be after all this inflation, we want to see a good amount of return on investment. I think the last thing anyone wants to do is waste their money on a trail that no one uses because it's exposed to the sun, it's too hot, there's nothing to do, there's nowhere for them to stop, grab a drink or ice cream.
Thank you. Derek?
Well, the Tucker Tomorrow comprehensive plan is a plan that aims to guide the city's growth over the next 10 years. That plan focuses on 5 key elements such as economic development, transportation, housing, public services, and land use. So those are the things that this plan is designed for, and during taking a look at the plan, it strategizes for improving the city parks and recreation activities and creating a larger recreational or regional network of paths and that public access to those existing paths. So it also outlines the potential partnerships that we have with neighboring cities and the county. So the plan emphasizes on the importance of community engagement and the public participation in the planning process. So it's intended to be a living document that can be adjusted as needed.
Thank you. You can keep that. We'll just go back the next direction. This is the last question on the early questions. I do have some community questions, and then we're going to pass the mic around. It's going to be fun. All right. Question 11. What types of programming and recreation is needed within our Tucker Parks and Recreation Department?
Well, it's important to consider the needs of the community when it comes to programs and recreational activities at the park. But some potential areas that we could focus on is youth programs, expanding the youth programs such as after school programs and different sports leagues to provide more of an opportunity for the children and those teenagers that are participating in the recreation parks and recs. More community events, hosting more community activities, utilizing the facility for such events such as festivals and concerts. We do a lot of that as well, but to bring more people out and bring them together to promote that sense of community. Outdoor recreational activities. I know pickleball is the all-time high right now. Most people are looking forward to the pickleball courts and all of that. So those types of things, outdoor activities, so residents can enjoy the outdoors. And of course, also expanding the senior programs that are there, such as, senior physical fitness, silver sneakers, different types of social events, just to encourage that more activities for our seniors and a healthy aging population for healthy living, healthy eating. Those types of informational opportunities definitely would help that focus on that from the rec center.
Thank you. Wynn?
I am one of those addicted to pickleball. I am in the league, I'm in the kickball league, but I also see that not everyone wants to or can participate, right? We have a lot of people that are mobilely challenged or just don't enjoy the competition. So I think, right now we have organizations like Art Tucker and Main Street Theater. They're doing a fantastic bring up job, but I think either we can support them by providing a path for them to grow and add more programs, or we step up ourselves and add it ourselves, whether it be arts and crafts or what have you. The schools within Tucker right now are scoring 5 out of 10. The parks, Tucker Rec and Park can definitely step up and expand our educational benefits, right? We can provide tutors, we can give them trainings in like craftsmanship, apprenticeship. There's a lot of shops around the city that are looking for help, that are willing to train our young to give them the skills that they need to work in the future. My generation, we're riddled with college debt. If Tucker had something like that growing up, I definitely would have taken full advantage of it. But we don't want to forget our elderly. My parents are 75. I think we should do more to give them additional hobbies, things to get out and enjoy the rest of their lives. They worked hard their whole entire life. They should have somewhere to enjoy it. If you look at the statistics for our crime in our city, it's mostly like petty crimes. Kids going around spray painting, breaking windows, going into cars and stuff. If we expand and give them all these avenues to express themselves and things to do, I think that would also help us drive down those numbers.
Thank you. Patrice?
For me, again, youth and sports activity, that is one way you can definitely engage the younger generation. We grew up as recreation. My brothers grew up as recreational ball players, and I was a cheerleader, so that was very dear and near to me, and it helped us through school, and it helped us get on school things, and et cetera, et cetera. So definitely implementing some kind of sport or activities for local residents in recreation. Again, sport league, adult leagues, right? We're big kids now, right? I'm 44. So we're big kids now, so we are definitely at the point where we want to play again, right? And live a little instead of working so hard, so that's important. We do have a senior citizens development, right? New place right off Main Street that has been doing an impeccable job with the senior citizens. I don't know why I cannot say this word.
Senior citizens,
My dear
you got
people,
it.
my dear elders, okay? I don't know why I cannot say those words tonight. I'm gonna get there, right? We could do educational things like financial literacy, right? Teaching our young people how to save money, and that money don't come out the microwave or grow in the ground, right? We could definitely teach them some how to crypto money, whatever they're into, stocks and stuff like that. Get them now instead of waiting till my generation got to college, and then you realize, oh, parents, just don't understand, right? So things like that I definitely think are needed. I just learned about Tucker Walks tonight. I was like, wait, we have Tucker Walks? What is that? Let me scan the QR code, right, so that I can get. And if you're on Facebook Live, join Tucker Walks. Make sure that you get into it, right? Nature programs, right? Programs that teach us how to live in nature, what it is. I just finished a naturalist program to become a Georgia naturalist. I just finished my last class on Saturday, and that is where I learned native plants, native soil, native bugs, the water system, lichen on trees. I learned about that and what's native to Georgia, right? Implement programs like that. Give scholarships to programs like that. If you can get your kids involved, you can get involved. You can know that all that English ivy growing in your backyard, that's why you got mosquitoes. I didn't know that, and so now I'm trying to get rid of them, right? But I thought it was pretty, right? So things like that help me, and if we get our community involved, again, you create community growth and development throughout that. So, yeah.
Thank you, and thank you for letting us get to know you a little bit better by these questions. I am now going to open up to the floor. I have 2 questions that they gave to me earlier, but I want to make sure that anybody in here has a question. I'm going to give them the mic. It's going to be wild.
you have a question?
Oh, no, not me. Thank you, you three, for spending the time this evening. I'm Megan Thomas, and longtime Tucker resident, like family goes back hundreds of years. So thank you for stepping up and doing something so many of us bitch about, but won't get up and do. So thank you very much. I do have a question, and that is, sadly, we're saying goodbye to our amazing Noelle. And one of the most amazing things I think we've all been lucky about District 2 is her ability to be open and responsive. Please tell me that you will or won't, be honest and tell us all, when it comes to voting for something, are you going to be listening to what we all are asking for? Or are you going to be sitting on your butt with your agenda and your pals?
Sorry, that should be a little, so let me just rephrase that so you can answer it in a way that is, we'll say, politically correct. So if it's an issue that comes before you, will you lean more to what the rules are or what the rules say they are? Because as legislators, that's what we do. We write rules. So will you listen to the community? Will you drive that's what they're asking. Are you going to drive what we want out here? Or will you listen to what's on the books now and how can we go forward? And I know this is a hard and terribly loaded question, but she's here and she asked it, so sorry. Go ahead. Patrice, you can start if you'd like with that one, and we'll just go back and forth, okay?
Okay, is that better? Okay. So let me preface this by saying I am a communicator's communicator. And I mean that in every sense of the word. My friends will tell you, I will make sure and ask you, you understand? You got it? You understand? We understand. Because I cannot speak for what I do not know, right? So I can say that I will always hear you first. That I can say that with conviction, because that is my first agenda, because I myself am a constituent, right? I myself am a citizen who feels like their voice has not been heard. So, yes, I would definitely, with all that I have, listen and hear you. I will also try my best to do what is in the best interest of the whole, because even though we are individuals, there is a whole. And so I'm not going to say that I don't have an agenda. Let me start by saying that. Let me just preface this by saying right now I have no agenda. I don't have an agenda one way or the other. I'm not in a circle. I don't know most of the people. That's just who I am as a person, because I'm a person that likes to hear before I make a decision. And everyone in my life, and even my enemies, will tell you, no matter what, she's going to listen, because I can't make an effective decision if I can't hear you, right? So I'm going to make the best decision in the best way possible for the community as a whole. And I do not have an agenda. I am not swayed one way or the other, because at the end of the day, I'm going to do what's best for the whole and the collective.
Yeah, you know, I think communication is the most important aspect of this job, right? We need to listen to absolutely everyone. I've said it over and over again. I want to open as many means of communication channels as possible, you know, whether it be at 3 a.m. when you're rolling home into town and you see an issue. You know, you can expect me to be up. My ADD does not let me go to sleep at a reasonable time. You know, I'm a lot like Patrice. I'm just another member of the community. This was one of the last things I expected myself to do. I never want to be a politician. I don't want to be referred to be as a politician ever. I have zero agenda besides the community wealth, right? I just want to give back to the community that helped raise me. You know, you can go through all of our financial statements, you know, that we submit each month. The only funding that I get is pretty much out of my own pocket from my brother and like a couple other people. So, you know, you can take my word on it. I have zero agenda to push. I'm just here for the betterment of our community.
Thank you. Well, as I stated earlier, listening to individuals will always be a number one concern because, again, you have to listen to those who are in the community. When you have an individual, thank you, have an individual who wants a separate agenda, then they are not the person to be in that role. Individuals who take on this mantle, I think I can speak for most of us, it was not taken lightly, and from what I've heard and what I've seen and what I've witnessed, that there is no hidden agenda amongst us. So when we listen to the concerns and the needs of the people, as long as the needs of the people are in line with the law, then we have to make the best decision within the confines of the law. So to answer the question, Meg, absolutely, we will definitely listen to the individuals of those impacted areas. And I do not have an agenda. Whenever there's a concern, I definitely want the constituents to reach out, to voice their concerns, because again, not all individuals will have the courage and the wherewithal to stand in front of a microphone to voice their concerns. So as an elected official, one would have to be that voice for the voiceless. Also communicating the information on a level that they can understand and be able to digest it. It's certainly not to belittle anyone when you talk about zoning ordinance and issues when they don't understand the process. Break it down to the individual as if they're 6 years old to understand it. The concerns will be heard, the concerns will be met, and the concerns will be addressed. And I think you'll get a better response when you take on that consideration for those individuals of hearing them.
Thank you guys for answering that. All right, next fun question. Who has one? All right, can I get you third? All right, just one second.
Just fair.
Hello, it's something I've noticed lately that some of Tucker's businesses have refused or are currently refusing to accept cash payments. There are data sets that suggest up to 27% of the community is unbanked. And if businesses are turning away cash payments, and Tucker has a non-discrimination ordinance, is this a form of economic discrimination?
Thank you. That's a much harder one. Yes, I think that is. You know, you bring up a really good point. A lot of our community are unbanked, right? Not everyone can go to Bank of America, open an account. Not everyone trusts those institutions all the time. I think that we should, you know, drive for a ordinance that backs those individuals up. I worked at a financial institution trying to address a lot of these issues. It's a very complex issue, so, you know, when you're dealing with cash and money, that's someone's livelihood. I don't think there's a worse feeling than when you're trying to purchase something and you get turned away because they're not accepting their preferred method of credit or debit, right? Yeah.
Well, I think this issue is not solely just a Tucker problem. We are moving and have moved into a more of a cashless society as a whole. You can do your very own unscientific research to see the number of people standing in the grocery line in front of you. Just count any 5 random people and see how many people pay with cash. It's up to an individual's business's choice whether or not they're going to be or accept cash as a form of payment for any number of reasons, whether that be to cut down on the possibility of them being robbed. So that's an individual business's decision of whether or not it's going to be a cashless business. when you look at it in forms of those individual businesses that are coming into the city, that is definitely something that if that business so chooses to be a cashless business, that's certainly something that needs to be advertised more, so when they come to that business, they know that we can't take cash here for safety reasons or whatever those reasons that they are that they choose to be a cashless business.
For me, I really, it's a catch-22, right? Because I owned a restaurant pre-pandemic in Clarkston, and I took cash and I took tap and pay everything. But at some point, at night, it does get a little dangerous to have cash because you cannot see, you're put in a little difficult situation, right? With that being said, I am a person who likes to pay cash most of my transactions. I actually don't own a credit card. So for me, I am just as perplexed when I go somewhere and they go, oh, we don't take cash. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? So now I have to rather go find a debit card or hope I got my cell phone to tap and pay or what have you. It is an individual business's choice to if they decide to take cash or not. Because sometimes I go to a business and it's only cash, and at this point I only have my debit card with me. So it's a catch-22. I do believe that if they are going to do that, that they should allot a definitely significant signage, significant preference in saying, hey, we are cashless. It should be prominent so that the customer, because the customer then has to infer a fee, because if I gotta get something out of there, I gotta go to Walmart, get a prepaid cash card, pay $4.75 or $4.95 to put it on a prepaid because I don't have credit cards. So it is definitely something that I probably have to do a little more research in seeing how this weighs either with yay or nay. But it is very inconvenient for either side, whether they don't take cash or whether they don't take cards. Sometimes I'm caught in the middle either way.
Hi, my name is David Fisher. I'm the Executive Director of Networks Cooperative Ministry. And we serve a lot of people that live in District 2 with food and financial assistance. Some of you have mentioned affordable or workforce housing. My question is, what do you think the role or responsibility of the City Council is on protecting and providing workforce housing, and how would you approach that?
Well, I think one of the things that needs to be taken into consideration when the developers come into the city, ask the question, what is your percentage that would be allotted for affordable housing? Those are the types of incentives that developers need to know coming into the city if we want to develop in your city. Because if we have developers who can say, I'm just throwing a number out here, just says 25% of the units that we want to build are going to be allotted for affordable housing, then that is an incentive for them to build in the city. And I think that's the responsibility of the city, is to make sure that we are putting forth those initiatives in order to allot for certain things such as affordable housing in that manner.
Yeah, kind of along the same lines, we want to really work with developers on this issue. We don't want to be an authoritarian government, right? We can't just mandate them, like you have to give us this many houses at this cost. What we want to do is really identify which developers have worked well with us in the past and have carried out their promises, right? And have built units that are up to our standards, not just slapping a couple pieces of drywall together. We want it safe for these workforce. I think another thing that we want to do is really explore a lot more of like the grants that we can help supplement building the affordable units, right? We all know that it's not really economically feasible to ask these developers to take all of the financial burden I know at the end of the day, they are trying to make a dollar. Yeah, sorry, that's the last one, train of thought. Yeah, I'll hang it up for now. Thanks.
Well, just to let you know, in the state of Georgia, there is a mandate that when you are developing, you have to automatically have a percentage that is affordable housing. That is inside Georgia statutes, I believe, or their code for building or what have you. And I believe it's like anywhere from 12 to 25%. Depending on how many buildings you're building. So that's automatic, right? What we are, what I suggest we could do is we could implement like programs like public-private partnerships, how we can collaborate with the builders and developers, making sure that we create a mutual impact fee for the different structures that they are building to help with affordable housing. We can create incentives for affordable housing for the construction of the buildings. We can also try and look into community land trusts. We can look into affordable housing funds that may be available throughout our county, city, and state, and community engagement on selling houses, refurbishing houses, maybe using houses for other purposes that instead of selling it, maybe we can use it for something else that will benefit the community, that could bring money in. Maybe we can use it as a temporary housing, you know, or something like that, or some kind of structure that actually benefits the community, takes people off the streets, gives people somewhere to stay so that they can start over and preferably have a job in the city of Tucker and bring that money back into Tucker. So I do have some ideas along with different building materials like trailer homes. Those are definitely significantly cheap. Container homes, they are definitely cheaper to build, but the look is the same. I am very familiar with the ones downtown that they sold for a lot of money, and the building did not cost it a portion of what it cost because it was a container home. You can build those out. One brand new container home costs you maybe $3,600. You can outfit it for about $40,000. That's a deal on making affordable homes. You can use it for senior citizen communities or things like that. And they build just like a regular home within itself. You would not know it was a container home unless you were told. So yeah, I do have some ideas that can help with that offset, or at least start the process for affordable homes.
Thank you. Do you have online questions?
All right, yes, we've got a number of questions from YouTube. Just let you know we've had 35 views through the night, but we are down to our hardcore 9 people right now, so it's been a long night for them. A lot of the questions have been about representation, ensuring adequate representation within the community. Alex Hall asks, the community almost unanimously opposed the Lawrenceville rezoning proposal. And he turned it in terms of why did Carl Schroeder ignore our interests? But I think then he added to how would you ensure you'd represent us, or what is the role of the city council member in representing the district when these questions come up and there's some pretty clear community input?
Again, I would firstly have to make sure that I understand what's exactly transpiring in this zoning change. I sat in some of these meetings and I heard the community not agree with the change, but I also heard the city council. So for me, I would definitely, again, I don't know the ins and outs. I don't know the true cusp of what the zoning is and how they are or how they decided it was going to change. But as a council member, I would actually get get more familiar with what is going on, and if it's just a lack of educating, then I would definitely do my part to try to educate the constituents on what it means to them and how it affects them. And if it is something that I disagree with wholeheartedly, I'm going to just disagree, and I'll be the one out of the out of 7 that just disagree. Because I honestly, I don't give in to peer pressure. I am not easily swayed. Actually, it's really hard to change my mind on something. And so for me, I would just need to understand. And now once I have an understanding and I can see the benefit on why, then I'm all for it. I can't, if there is not enough nays for this yay, then I'm going to have to, I'm going to do the right thing and make the right decision based on my own personal convictions of who I am as an individual. Integrity, it means a lot to me, so I'm going to stand on that integrity.
With the Lawrenceville Highway Corridor rezoning, I think the process started way back at the beginning of the year, somewhere around, I think, March. I'm probably wrong because I'm horrible with months. We've had a lot of we've had numerous meetings and taken in a lot of the community feedback. I myself went around my HOA and community of about 50 homes to gather all of their input. My feelings and the feelings of the community differed, but I'm here at the end of the day to represent the community. I pass along the feedback to the council, but I think one thing that we really want to step away is working with anecdotal data, right? So again, we have people that are able to go to these meetings like myself, that can voice their opinions for their neighborhoods, but there's a lot of neighborhoods, Stanford Parks, Bradford Parks, that can't make it to these meetings. So we have to take their input on it because it affects everyone's lives within Tucker. It's not just the people that live within a 50-foot radius of the rezoning area. So I want to make it a lot more transparent in the responses of the city and not just the people that are there.
It boils down to understanding the process. If you can educate the constituents about it, and we would be one vote. So understand how we got there. Help the constituents to understand and know what that process looks like. And when that vote is taken and the council either approves or denies it, you have to own that decision because it's there, it's been voted upon. However, as a member of the council, I would make sure that I'm definitely hearing the concerns of the people that's impacted in that area, because you want to make sure that they understand, here's where we are, here's how we got here, to understand that process. And once you have a better understanding of the process of how you got to where you are, it helps that pill to be swallowed easily, whether that be bitter or sweet, because that at the end of it all, it will be voted upon. And when it's voted upon, somebody's not going to be happy, whether you're going to be for it or against it, but you understand what that process is. And as a member of the council, I certainly would make sure that I'm hearing the concerns of the people.
Whoa, that was good. A similar question, again, representation is the big topic in chat, from Elhanan Winchester. How would you navigate situations where you disagree with the mayor or their council colleagues, or do you disagree with the city? Will you be a go along, get along, or be willing to be a dissenting voice?
Be a what?
Willing to be a dissenting voice.
Yeah, I think if anyone in here knows me, I'm extremely stubborn and hard-headed. So if I have the opposite opinion, I will voice it. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't collaborate. When you look at your life, no one agrees with you 100%, not even like your wife, your husband, on all the topics in the world, right? I think we should all do a better job of clear communication, expressing what the issues are, what our needs are, and how can we come to an agreement that makes both parties happy. Sometimes, honestly, it really can't be reached, but I think we can at least ease the pain if we listen to each other and do a better job of like working together. Yeah.
Well, I think it boils down to clear and effective communication. When you disagree with someone, we can not have the same opinion about the situation, but be in a respectful manner. I would respectfully disagree with how you feel about that. I would stand on a position of what I stand on, but also allow you to stand on the position that you stand on. So it's not just a point of, as Andrew stated, go along to get along, because that gets us nowhere. If you have the truth, stand in the truth. If you have an issue or you are concerned about a particular issue, a particular project, then what you need to do at that point as a sitting council member is to vote your heart. If you lead with your heart, then you don't have to worry about anything because you've listened to the concerns of the constituents and you're voting with your heart. It may not necessarily agree with those individuals, but you may be on an island by yourself, but stand on that island by yourself because you're not alone. You have the voices of the constituents in which you serve.
Yes. Again, I am not easily persuaded. Once I get the facts, I know the facts, I learn the facts, I use those facts as my judgment. I do not, as anybody who knows me will say, I just believe that, again, if you use the wisdom that you have been given in your own head and you decipher the information that is before you, then you can make an intelligent decision. And so my goal as a councilwoman is to make intelligent decisions. And sometimes those intelligent decisions do not line up with others' intelligent decisions. And so therefore, am I willing to be stand alone? Yes, I am willing to stand alone. Am I willing to stand for the people? I am willing to stand for the people because that is why I am here. There has to be diversity. There has to be voices that are heard that are not being heard. There has to be a collection of data that is not being collected. And so for me, if we do not show that we are diverse as a whole, then we're going to be, just another city, and I want to be a great city because the city of Tucker was chosen by me and my family for a reason, so.
Last question from the chat. There are a number of discussions about multifamily developments in District 2. The question is, well, I'll read Patricia Reynolds. What will you do to stop the massive building of high-density housing? I guess based on comments in chat more, what is your feeling about new multifamily developments within the district?
Well, I think that's always a challenge when you talk about a new city. You run into the very big challenge of how do you meet in the middle. There has to be a meeting in the middle. There's a very hard challenge and a very big hurdle for any new city that's wanting to grow, wanting to develop, but how do you maintain the very character of the city that you chose to move to without somebody being, not happy, for lack of a better term. So you're going to have to find, and it's very hard to strike a balance in between of how do you have that high density area where you want developers to come in to build houses and you don't want the people who are currently there to be placed or to be misplaced or not to have that common theme or that common ground where everybody can get what they want out of that particular project. So it's very hard, it's very challenging, but what I will do is to make sure that I am, again, listening to what the people want and what the people are saying, because it boils down to that. And if it can happen, then how do we make that happen as a unified body, listening to those concerns of the individuals of that impacted area?
Yeah, it's a real complex situation. A lot of us, if you look back, I myself, when I first came to America, we started off in the apartments, and I think, as ugly as some of those buildings are, I wouldn't be here without those buildings, right? So we really have to take a look back at where we started, where our roots are. With that said, the main charm of Tucker is its surrounding neighborhoods. You have Drainwoods, Smoke Rise, the Chamblee-Tucker area. Each neighborhood has their own distinct characteristics that we want to preserve. So we need to target a lot of these key areas that can take the traffic, take the additional businesses and people to live in these places, right? We have ample space, in example, for the North Lake area. That's a prime place for us to build denser homes, have more businesses that people can work in and bring money into. Again, any of these buildings, it really should comply with a lot of our neighborhood characteristics. We don't want to lose the people that have grown up here. A lot of our young individuals, they are so heavily invested into this community, and we should give them a place to be able to live and continue to grow their families too.
For me, it's all about how you do something, right? It's not necessarily about, it's about how you do it in the sense of, right? So we, from my understanding, going to the city council, we already have about 1,000 already on the books that can come, right? So for me, I think that it should be a pace. Like, there should be a way for us to, hey, not approve so many at one time. Let's get some in, let's do that, let's get that traffic down. Then, okay, if we can handle some over here, let's get those in, let's get that down packed, see how traffic look, and do that. I think it's about, it seems like in the appearance of, it's like we're getting thrown all these dense apartments and townhomes and all of that's getting thrown at us, and we're just going to these meetings approving, and then we're not seeing them. And then, woo, in 5 years, we got 2,000 brand new homes, developments, and we don't know what that's going to look like at one time. So for me, my suggestion would be, okay, we know we need it for growth, we know we need diversity, we know we need these things, but let's try to strategize exactly how we're going to do this in this manner, instead of giving all of, because I understand that we can approve it now and it'll take 5 to 7 years to build. I get that. But in 5 to 7 years, when you got 7 different developers coming, what's that going to look like? So it doesn't look staggering to the community as a whole. So my suggestion would be maybe just strategize on how these things can actually come in, because we know we need growth, we know we need new development, we know we need economic growth development, we know we need all of that. We're not oblivious to that, but just it's the how. Like, let's find a better way to do it, or a more strategic, I guess, way to do it.
We're going to have one more question.
Hello, my name is Beverly Williams and I live in Pine Grove. I want to say thank you for the Lawrenceville community, the commercial men and women that worked and have their own businesses, because without Tucker, they made us Tucker. That's the first thing and foremost. I want to congratulate them being in their companies for almost 30 and 40 years. So we need to commend them as well. Number 2, we have grandfather clause inside of Tucker that residents don't know and the city council don't know. Now, I'm a bookworm. Being in the military, that young man knows we read regulations and policies. And I find it very condescending for the city council and the mayor and the planning commissioner not to do their homework when it comes to policies and regulations. Because DeKalb County has put us, we've been in DeKalb County for almost 20 years and we had laws and regulations. Now you all became a city in 2016, right? We are grandfathered for certain levels when it comes to commercial and residential. And I feel that y'all need to pay attention to that, because if I was a commercial resident, I would sue the pants of the city council and the mayor. Period. Thank you.
All right, I'm sorry, there was one more question, just 1 second.
Okay. I live in Edinburgh Estates, which most kind of know if they walked through the neighborhood and actually met the candidates. Some, I just saw the flyers and that was it. So, that being said, I think this has been a very good experience and actually listening to all. And I do have a question, because some people are not all on social media, and Vihn actually said that you would communicate with the people within District 2 having to do with social media. So does that mean now you're going to have your own Facebook page and people are supposed to be your friend on a Facebook page, or is it going to be email or some of the other things? Because I know that with Matt Robbins, when the city first started in 2016, as well as then Noel, was elected, they've been very responsive, going through the neighborhoods, talking if they're just driving through, reaching out to all of the people, and when they end up also voting, I believe, on the council or whatever, it's also more for the residents of District 2 and the citizens, not necessarily just the council person's opinion, maybe, as well as, how they really want to vote. And I know that Derik actually also said too, okay, there's, with the vote, I would just go ahead and vote with integrity, and I fully understand that, but at the same time, I've never actually sat, on the council. I just know with Matt and Noel, and they had District 2 really at the heart of their souls.
I think her question was, how are you going to reach out to them besides social media? That was the question, but thank you for the compliment. Sorry, thank you. That's the part of listening that you guys are going to have to do when you're sitting on the council, just so you know. You got to listen for the question. Okay, go.
I want to thank you for that question. You're completely right. Social media is a circle, right? Social media. Thank you. Social media is a circle. It's whoever likes and follows your pages. I don't want to build a following. I'm not trying to.
It also includes Twitter and whatever else that you want. Not everybody is on that. But not only that, when you did mention about a power was out in the neighborhood or something like that, people were trying to contact you. Most people, at least I know in my subdivision, we have a Facebook page, and they go in, hey, this, we called Georgia Power, we heard, hey, it's going to be out for so long, and everything else. Yet, if you can contact the city of Tucker to find out, gee, hey, when are they going to make sure that Georgia Power gets it back in my neighborhood? I mean, if you want people to contact them, are you going to be a liaison with Georgia Power?
Okay, let's let him go ahead and finish there. So go ahead and finish your thought there.
Yeah, I apologize. I should have clarified and said it was all social media. I'm not trying to get famous by running for Tucker City Council. I know that it's not the most effective way. It does reach a lot of us that are on social media. I wasn't really too fond of social media before this. I really still am not. But it's a great resource when you have groups like Tucker Town Talk, Tucker City Talk, Tucker Real Talk, and about 20 other ones with big circles. It's a decent way of communicating, but we need to, think outside the box and leverage other means of communication, whether it be emergency text messages. If there's a tornado coming down, that's something that we can leverage to send out to all the phones within the city. It doesn't really require the normal cell service, right? It works on a back channel that always communicates. In terms of talking to the community, I think we should do a better job of listening to how they want to be communicated with, right? Whether it be text, email, chat in all hours of the day, and provide a lot of the feedback that you're looking for. Like if there's a power line down, yes, we should be working with Georgia Power. That's what our Department of Public Works does do on a regular when they're doing road maintenance, putting down power lines and trees, and when they're moving sidewalks, right? So I think that we can keep that line of communication, and we can work with our citizens and constituents on their preferred method of communication, and think of novel ideas of how we can take in the data.
Okay, so somebody could just go ahead and text you, but then somebody might not necessarily be really into the text mode all the time.
So
they might not walk around with a cell phone 24/7 or something, and they don't have the ability to text. So
yeah,
maybe message you on Tucker Town Talks, and sometimes you're on Tucker Town Talk, but then Tucker Town Talk is open to a lot of individuals if you do go to that.
Yep, got it. Okay, let's let Patrice answer. How are you going to communicate with the community with not using Facebook? Go.
Right. Well, I did my campaigning kind of the old-fashioned way. I printed flyers. Some of you got them in your mailbox, and then someone said, hey, you can't put them in your mailbox, tape them on the side. So then the rest of them were taped on the side. I went door to door, I knocked, if you look at my Instagram, it has like the 3 flyers that I have, and that's it on there. I'm not very into social media, so I believe in getting in your face. I believe in talking to you and sitting down at your table sometimes, because sometimes that's exactly what it takes. I am also, though, aware that there is a different generation who needs the technology. So my goal is to, again, make sure that the language is accessible, so making sure my flyers were done in Spanish and in English, because there are people that that can speak English but can't read English, right? So I tried to make sure that I had a variety of ways that I could communicate, be it knocking on your door, be it seeing you in the grocery store, be it taping a flyer to your mailbox, So I have a lot of alternatives in how I reach out to my constituents to hear them and to speak with them and to educate them.
Thank you, Derik.
Very simply put, you would have to utilize the effective communication for all those individuals that are involved. Everybody's not on social media. Everybody who is on social media don't check it regularly. You, as an informed citizen, if it's important to you, if the issue is important to you, you will find a way to find out about it. As an elected official, there should be newsletters that go out for a specific area that particular area is being impacted. Now, will that information go out via social media? It will go out in every area that can meet the masses. So everybody has an opportunity to get the information. It's up to that individual to take advantage of the information that's out there. You can make sure that it's out there, use the avenues that you have, use the tools and the resources that you have as an elected official. I will make sure you get the information and you have that information, but also to understand how you get it and to make it easy and usable for you to be able to digest it.
Thank you, guys. Really, honestly, everybody give them a round of applause. That was quite the thing. Thank you again so much for coming in and spending your evening with us. If anybody has other questions, we can wrap up.
Can we give a round of applause for Noel?
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.